Gordon, today is the day. We are installing what?
What day is it?
I don't know. But it's the day. It's the day we put in the watermaker.
So, big day.
We've got all these parts and pieces, electric motors, hoses, filters, pumps, and here's the layout. And the reason we selected the Seawater Pro watermaker, single membrane, is up to 20 gallons an hour, which is plenty of water for us. We'll run it maybe once a week, but it's modular. And you can see all the pieces. It doesn't matter where the pieces go because you just connect them with hoses. So it's a great system for boats with limited space. So our planning is telling us that we're going to, here, I'll show you what we're up to. We put in this manifold to suck seawater off the sea strainer that's already there for the engine. We use it for our saltwater washdown system. So we'll come off this valve for the Seawater Pro. We didn't buy the control panel. We've got this big blank space here, and I will install the gauges and controls and all in this area individually as components. And the system, let's do some boat yoga. This is a CNC 39. Every boat is different. This is like a little locker out in the cockpit with a hatch. I like to use crates to store stuff in this area, but probably mount the charging pump on this panel here at the back of the engine from this side, and then you got to run it through these filter housings, which I'm thinking about hanging in this area because it's unused space. And the big motor and pump I'll platform across this area because the propeller shaft goes in the hull over here, so that's just wasted space. And I'll put a platform there, and the big tube for the osmosis or reverse osmosis filter under pressure I'll hang from the ceiling in here. So I think I can get everything in this area. It's unused space. It's going to require a lot of boat yoga, and if I ever got to work on it, I'm going to wish I put it more accessible. But accessibility and storage space is a trade-off, so let's get to work. Okay, we installed the boost pump on the back side here of an engine room bulkhead, and now let's bring the water from our manifold to the input. Okay, we made our connection here to our manifold that we built for our saltwater system off the sea strainer. And now it's got to connect to the pump. And we're connected to the pump, so let's run our electrical wires next. We've got the wire and run from the pump to the engine room. This is the blank area in the engine room. Everything will go in to control the watermaker, but we're just going to leave the wire in here for now because we want to concentrate on the hydraulic side, the water side of the installation. So we'll do this last. And since we're plumbing the discharge or the charge pump for the system, we've added a T to the saltwater side, and off of that T we've added a valve and a loop of hose. So when we go to pickle the system, you simply shut the salt water off, put this hose in a bucket of pickling solution, cut this valve on, it'll suck the pickling solution through and shut the valve off. So just making life easy for the future here, so we don't have to disconnect and reconnect stuff to do the pickling. Boat yoga! I've crawled through this access to get back here to install the 5 and 20 micron filters. You can see where, let me give you a little more light. I've put some elbows in and turned things to where I can get to all the hose connections and check valves and get back here and service them. and I had to use a pillow to like prop it up. I can only get one arm in there to hold it in the right spot till I got the mounting bolts in. But I'll mount the other filter, the charcoal filter for the back flush and pickling, here in front of this battery charger on this wall here, and then it'll connect from here over to there. And this is the connection for the charging pump, which is over to my left, and then this fitting here will go to the main pressure pump, and that fitting there goes to the gauge. So a little bit of creative plumbing here to get everything where I can reach it, and it doesn't have to look like the picture, but it's got to be connected like the picture. Okay, so we got the carbon filter in. If you open this locker on the starboard side of the helm area, cockpit, you can see the carbon filter is right here at the back of the bulkhead for the pilot berth on the starboard side, and those are the 20 and 5 micron filters. Now we'll plumb from the charge pump over here through those two filters and connect this filter for the back flush, and let's do some tubing installation. Progress! I know it looks like I'm taking a nap, but I'm not. I'm in this hole and I've thrown some pillows in here, so it's not so hard on my back. That's what I'm looking out of, the hatch up there. So we've installed a T here on our freshwater line that we installed the spigot for washing the dive gear. T off of that, that's fresh water. Loops around, comes into this timer. This timer is our freshwater flush to keep our filters clean after every use. We'll flush it with fresh water. And that's between uses. So it comes out of the timer and loops around, made these nice sweeping loops. Let me get back here so you can see the path. And the hoses there come back to here, which loops around and goes into the charcoal filter and comes out of the charcoal filter and goes over here to tee into a check valve, and that's where it intercepts the saltwater system and flushes through the filters through the pump. I haven't installed that yet, but we've got all this plumbing done. Now we're getting ready to drill some holes so we can run hoses up to where our gauge panel is going to be. All right, Gordon, when you're ready, we're going to drill some holes in the boat right through the bulkhead right there.
I got it back now.
All right, I'm positioning the drill. I see your light. Okay, drilling holes in the boat. 2 more holes. See where I rubbed up against that hose a little bit, but she's fine. And that's where I'll pass the hoses through to get up to the front of the engine compartment and to the water tank. I'm building a platform, and you can see where I'm trying to cut a taper in it to fit the side of the hull over there to mount the high pressure pump to right underneath the center here. And if I keep trimming it, pretty soon I'll get it to where this is level. I'm gonna put 2 of these boards in here and mount the high pressure pump and all pretty much center line of the boat over this basically unused area here in front of the steering quadrant. And again, that's a large component that'll be out of the way, yet accessible from both sides, and doesn't take any of my existing storage space. So that's one of my goals, is to put in this unit and not have it in the way of anything else and utilize these odd unused spaces. Okay, the high pressure pump and motor platform is built. You see this side's tapered to fit against the port side of the hull. Starboard side, there's a little runner in there so it can be square, and the pump's going to mount in this area here. So let me put a reinforcement back there for this end to sit on, and we'll lay out the pump and put the mounts on for that. This is our mounting platform for the high pressure pump and motor, and you'll notice we're using vibration isolators. That'll cut down on the growling noise you hear in the hall when you're running a motor, but also very important, and they don't note this in the directions, but you got to change the oil in this pump after the first 50 hours. And you see that plug at the bottom? How are you going to get under there to get to that and drain it? But using these, it'll stack it up another 1.5 inches for ease of access to service the pump. There we go. The high pressure pump is mounted on the platform that we put from one side of the boat to the other. It's right center line of the boat. Still got room for storage of bulk goods underneath, waterproof bags. And it's on its vibration mounts. So it's a little bit of vibration absorption, and I can get under it to that drain plug to change the oil in the pump. So real happy with the placement of how that come out. I just got to wire it up and run the plumbing to it. The high pressure pump is installed. Now we're going to install the filter. High pressure filter that actually filters the fresh water out of the salt water. And we've made up these brackets with pipe strap to hang it up against it's the floor of the cockpit, but it'll be the ceiling of back here behind the engine room. And we'll just screw them right up and hold that securely up out of the way. And it's a good out of the way place to put it. Oh, this is some boat yoga. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 straps holding up the high pressure filter. We've routed the wiring and hoses and all for the controls. And this is going to be the high pressure bleed valve and all. In through the bulkhead at the back of the engine compartment, and we're going to mount them inside the engine compartment on the starboard side. So we're drilling holes to mount the gauges and controls in this panel here. Easily accessible in the main cabin, easily viewable, but out of the way. We didn't spend the extra $1,000 to buy the fancy remote control panel, so we had to buy a couple extra fittings and marry all this stuff together, because we're not putting it, you know, back on the cylinder and all like the directions say. For not having the remote panel, we're building our own. So we've bored this hole in here, and I believe with a couple extra fittings and a little jostling around with the geometry, I believe securing that to the backside and then touch up the little bit of varnish around that, and it's going to look good. And we'll do that with the other gauge and switches and stuff here, flow meter, etc. Now that we've tested the water maker, let's make the final connection to the water tank. Could have done this easier if I had this 1.5 to 1/2 inch T or even 3/8 T available in pipe, but it wasn't. I mean, I'm working with a Home Depot on an island in the Keys, so you got to use what they got, and that's the cruiser mindset. You may not find what you want, but can you find something that works? So I'll cut this PVC pipe. I'll glue these fittings together because I couldn't find one that was threaded, to take the 1.5 inch nipple, and then I'm going to splice into the existing fill line. That fitting there goes to the deck instead of tapping in originally, as I thought, into the vent line over here and putting a check valve in, because this is sealed and no salt water can get in this. Theoretically this should be okay, but just to be on the safe side, we'll go into the sealed side of the fill system And you can see our plastic hose there is going to come up and tie right in to this fitting here. And that way when we run the water maker, it'll go right into the water tanks. So there's the connection for the fill to fill our tanks. This is the original fill hose for the starboard side tank. The tanks are connected, so filling one fills the other. And we've got it secured. Use some plumber straps and some nylon thingadoobies to secure the PEX hose. And she's leak free. She's filling the tank now. So, system recap. Turn on the pump, adjust the flow for charge pressure, turn on the main pressure pump, adjust it to 20 gallons an hour in the 600 to 800, 900 psi range for the high pressure filter. Turn on the TDS monitor, look at your salt, 232, I can take that. And it's running off of our 3000 watt inverter, which is telling you we're getting 1000 watts is what it takes to run this system. I also had the refrigerator running, the freezer running. So that's the total combined system voltage use with the water maker running. And the sun's out, nice and bright. Solar panels are kicking it. So we are making water with solar power through our battery bank and inverter. Hope you enjoyed the installation, learned some tricks, tips, and some mistakes I made and had to go back and reconfigure. But love this watermaker Pro system. Love that it's componentized. You can put pieces anywhere. Your boat's got room and runs on 110 off your inverter, off your solar system. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. We've got an anchor windlass project to do. We're putting up railings for the dive tanks. We're also going to be installing a dive compressor. So some great projects coming up.